here at Howard University. I have been in this role for the past 16 years running the Rangel program, so obviously it's a labor of love for me. Before that, I was a Foreign Service officer. I'm really excited to be here tonight to talk about the opening of the 2023 Charles B. Rangel International Affairs Graduate Fellowship Program. It's a wonderful program, and I'm really happy to talk to you about it. This presentation is going to be a little more detailed than I normally do because I want to go over a lot of different things. I want to go over the selection process. I want to go over the award. I want to go over the Foreign Service, tips for preparing for preparing a competitive application, a number of different things. So if you have questions, please hold them to the end, or you can go ahead and type them into the chat box. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Garrick Buzzard, who is the program manager for the Rangel program, and Michael Veazey, who is our senior advisor. So they'll be helping to answer any questions that come up as I speak. So let's go. The Charles B. Rangel International Affairs Program began in 2002 as a way of promoting excellence and diversity in the Foreign Service. At that time, the Foreign Service was primarily white male, East Coast, prep school. Again, it did not represent well the United States, not the perspectives, not the backgrounds of different people. And so the idea was to have a program that would bring more people in so that when we're making decisions, we benefit from having diverse perspectives. When we're out internationally working, people can actually see who we are as a nation. And so we have been doing this now for 20 years. So this is our 20th anniversary, and we're very excited about that. So there's two parts to the Rangel program. The first part, which is what I'm talking about tonight, is the Rangel Graduate Fellowship. The second part is the Rangel International Affairs Summer Enrichment Program. So if you're still an undergraduate student and are interested at all in a 6-week program during the summer to learn about international affairs careers, please feel free to look at our website on our undergraduate program. But tonight we're going to talk about the graduate fellowship itself. Next, please. So what's the Foreign Service? I say this because it's really important. One of the things that differentiates the Rangel Fellowship from other fellowships is that it comes with a job at the end. So if you get the fellowship, you get the job at the end. In between, there's about $106,000 in benefits, graduate school, 2 internships, professional development, mentorship, but at the end, there's the Foreign Service. You do have a 5-year service obligation, and so your reason for joining this fellowship should be because you want to be a Foreign Service officer. So because of it, I like to start there. So the State Department Foreign Service is the diplomatic corps for the United States, and we work all around the world in over 270 posts, and also in the United States. So we work in Washington and New York and some other places. But what differentiates it is we often spend, half to, 2/3 of our careers living overseas. The Foreign Service does a lot of things that are truly incredible. It promotes peace, security, prosperity, freedom, and respect for human dignity. It helps Americans overseas in times of crisis and facilitates travel. It promotes human rights. It coordinates security and conflict resolution. It manages really large embassies. So if you're someone who really likes to manage things, it's a fascinating job. We promote dialogue, exchanges, and understanding. We facilitate international trade and cooperation on issues involving the environment, science, and technology. So pretty much any issue you can think of domestically, we probably have to coordinate on overseas. The two things that I liked probably most about my Foreign Service career is, one, it's a career of incredible change. Every couple of years, we go to a different place to do different things. We learn different skills. We work with different people. So if you're one of those people that's kind of intellectually restless, like you almost can't decide what you want to do for the rest of your life, it's a wonderful career because change and learning is just integral to everything that we do. The other thing is what we do matters. So if you have a very strong public service orientation, it's a wonderful job because every day we're out there trying to make things better. So whether we're working on political issues or economic, or whether we're working to help American citizens, we are working to represent well, bring benefits to the American people, as well as the international community. So it was a job I was always really proud to do. Next, please. Okay, so let's talk about the fellowship itself. Again, for people who are interested in careers in the Foreign Service of the U.S. Department of State. The basic program elements are that we're going to give you funding of $84,000 a year for 2 years. So you get $84,000 1 year, sorry, $84,000 over 2 years. I'd like to say you get that each, no. It's over 2 years, $84,000. They'll pay for tuition fees, living expenses, and then we also provide funding for summer internships, which is worth about $11,000. So altogether, it's worth about $106,000 over 2 years. In addition, many universities will provide additional financial assistance. So you should be able to take the fellowship, go to the graduate school that you really want to go to, and get out without having any major new debt. So that's it. That's the funding part. The next part is we have an orientation to the Foreign Service as well as to the program, a 10-week internship on Capitol Hill the first summer of the program to learn about Congress's role in foreign policy, which I think is a great part of this program because a lot of people don't know that Congress actually has a role and how that interacts with the executive branch. And so I think it's really fascinating to spend a summer up there. And then the summer between your first and second year, you're going to be overseas working in a US embassy or consulate. You get a mentor. In fact, you get 2 mentors in the Foreign Service. You get one who's a little bit further along, and then you get one who's from our program, an alumni from our program, who's a peer mentor that actually helps you understand the early years of the Foreign Service. And most importantly, at the end of the program, you get employment in the State Department Foreign Service if you successfully complete the program. And as I mentioned up front, you really have to want to go into the Foreign Service because there is a 5-year service obligation. And I can talk a little bit more about what that entails. Next, please. So eligibility requirements, and these are ones that we cannot waive. So the first one is U.S. citizenship. You have to be a U.S. citizen on the day that you apply. Can you be a naturalized U.S. citizen? Yes, you can. Can you be a dual national? Yes, you can. Again, we have many people that are either naturalized U.S. citizens, first-generation Americans, and they bring wonderful perspective to our programs. You have to have a GPA of 3.2 out of 4.0. So if you're a senior, it's what your GPA is now. If you're graduated, it's what it was when you graduated. We can talk a little bit more about that because there's always cases to talk about with that. Then you have to be planning to enroll in a 2-year master's program for fall of 2023. So if you're applying now, you're applying to start graduate school in fall of 2023. So you're probably a senior in college, or you're probably out of college, or you are a really smart sophomore or junior or freshman who just wants to get a jump on this and find out what the opportunities are. But if you're applying this year, again, you're going to start graduate school in fall of 2023. You have to do a U.S. university. It has to be in an area of relevance to the Foreign Service. And that would include things like international affairs, business administration, public administration, management, regional affairs like Latin American studies. It could include conflict resolution, international communications, migration studies. So there's many different areas that you could go into, but they do have to be relevant. You will be applying for graduate school separate from the fellowship. But for most people, being that you'll know whether or not you get this fellowship by the middle of November this year, you'll know that you already have the fellowship. And with that, you're going to start applying for graduate schools. And what you're going to find is that you are very, very popular because we work with many different graduate programs, and they truly compete with one another to get Rangel Fellows to go to their schools. Next, please. Okay, let's get more into the award itself. It's $84,000 a year. Sorry, 84,000 over 2 years. I keep trying to give you guys more. So 84,000 over 2 years. So we pay you university 24,000 per year for tuition and mandatory fees. Okay, they bill us, we give them the 24,000. Then we directly give you stipends worth $18,000 to cover your living expenses. Now, if you look at $24,000, I think I just saw somebody going to SICE or Columbia. Your tuition is going to cost a heck of a lot more than $24,000 a year. But so again, in the case of SICE pays all the rest of the cost. It'll pay the rest of your tuition and mandatory fees that we don't pay, which is great. Columbia, Georgetown, if you're going to go to someplace like Princeton, they're not only going to give you pay the rest of your tuition, but they're going to give you an additional living stipend in addition to what we do. So again, you really should be able to go to that grad school that you've always really wanted to go to and get out without having to take on any debt. Again, if you play your cards right in terms of how you select. So that's really, really exciting. And grad school, well, I'll talk about that later. Grad school is exciting when you know you have a job at the end. We also provide up to $11,000 per year for 2 internships, one's domestic, one's overseas. So we pay you a stipend, which is about $8,000 a summer. We pay for transportation, we pay for housing for that. And again, as I mentioned before, some graduate programs provide supplemental financial assistance. You can find a list of them on our website. There's over 40 something now that do, and you don't have to go to those schools. You know, there's ones that make offers up front, but if you want to go someplace else, that's fine. Again, as long as it meets our criteria. And because you're fabulous anyway, they'll probably give you money. So I don't want you to feel like you're limited to them, but they really are wonderful options. We don't on our website put what their offers are. So if you email us, we will send you their latest offers. That's because the offers change sometimes. The universities themselves administer these offers, but we publicize them to you. Next, please. Okay. So I told you about the benefits and they are significant, but there are also obligations. The first one is to be, we'll pick you and then you'll start going through the program. But as part of the program, you will go through medical, security, and suitability clearances. And you have to be able to get them to remain in the program. So medical is just that we work all around the world and you have to be worldwide available. So you have to be healthy enough to work around the world. That does not mean that you cannot have any, conditions. We have people in the Foreign Service that have everything from, diabetes to HIV/AIDS to epilepsy, but it has to be fairly well controlled. Again, when you go in, it's worldwide when you go in. You have to be able to get security and suitability clearances. Generally, security and suitability look at things like how trustworthy you are. Suitability is a little bit more even. Okay, security, you're going to get a top secret security clearance. They want to make sure we can trust you with the secrets of our nation. But suitability is even a step beyond that. You will represent America when you're overseas. So how you conduct yourself matters. And so because of it, we want people that have good judgment, that are going to represent well. And so, they will do an investigation. The most common reason that young people do not get security and suitability clearances has to do with recent use of illegal drugs. It's not that you could not have done it in your life, but generally, and again, it depends on what type and how much and with what consequences, but generally, if this is something you've done within the past year, it's better maybe to wait and apply the following year. We'll be here every year. Drug use within a year can be a real problem. And again, this all depends on what you used and how much or whatever. But generally, if it's been in the past year, it's better to wait, and that's for any type of federal service. Once you're here, once you're in the program, you have to maintain a GPA of 3.2 in graduate school. Really, we've never lost anybody in the program because they weren't able to get the grades they needed to get. You have to enter, you have to meet the Foreign Service entry requirements. And for us, that means you have to take the Foreign Service Officer test. You don't have to pass it, you just have to take it. And you have to take the Foreign Service Oral Assessment. You have to pass it. I mean, you have to take it, but you don't have to pass it. You do have to pass within 5 years of entering the Foreign Service to get tenure, but it will not keep you out of the Foreign Service. And you have a 5-year service obligation. Generally, the 5-year service obligation involves 2 overseas tours, 2 different places you'll be going to, and probably a year of training. Most people will learn a new language during their first 2 tours in the Foreign Service. Up to a year has to be in consular work, which is really interesting. That's working with the American citizens overseas and working with US visas. And then you'll do a lot of other things during the time that you are in there. So again, generally 2 2-year tours and 1 year of training. Next, please. And of course, State Department hopes you're going to love it and you're going to want to stay for an entire career. And I'll be able to go to your ambassadorial signing in ceremony with your parents. It's quite a thing. They will really love it. So just saying, come join us and then keep going. Let me talk a little bit about the timeline for this year. So the application deadline is September 22nd, 2022. So it's 11:59 p.m. You have to be done and your application has to be in. I suggest you submit it by no later than September 21st, because you never know when your electricity is going to go out or something's going to happen. So try to submit it a day early just to make it a little bit less stressful on yourself. Let's see. Then we pick finalists by November 1st. We'll pick 90 finalists. We will, at the moment, we're planning for it to be in person. It is possible that it could be virtual, which it has been for the past couple of years, but we're able to do it either way. So either way, it's going to be a great opportunity. We will do the interviews November 16th and 17th, and we will select fellows by the end of the day on November 18th and let you know. So the same week you interview, you're going to know whether or not you have the fellowship. This is great because you don't have to spend all your time going, gosh, I wish I'd said that. Or no, we'll tell you one way or the other very quickly. This is great because it's actually before Thanksgiving. So it's before you've even started to fill out your applications, right? And that's great. You are not required to have GREs to do this. So so you can, go ahead and apply and see what happens. If you don't get it and want to apply again, wait and apply again the next year, you can absolutely do that. And then you join us formally for the program with your orientation in May of 2023. From there, May of 2023, you're going to do your orientation here in Washington, and you're going to do your congressional internship. Starting in August or September of 2023, you'll start your 2-year graduate program and get ready for your overseas internship. In the summer of 2024, you'll go overseas and do an internship at a U.S. embassy or consulate overseas to learn about the work and the lifestyle of the Foreign Service. Then you'll go back and complete your 2nd year of graduate school, which will be academic year 2024 to 2025. And then right afterwards, you're going to join the Foreign Service. So generally you enter in the next class. So if you graduate in May, you're probably going into the Foreign Service either in late June or early July, depending on when that class is held. Next, please. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about each of the program elements. The first one is orientation, wonderful chance to get to know one another, get to know the Foreign Service, get to know the fellowship. We do it here in Washington, DC. One thing you'll learn is how many people are invested in your future. You guys are a really big deal. You are the future of the Foreign Service, and that's the future of our foreign policy. So you'll find that you get to meet lots of senior people and people that are just willing to help you all along the way. You do professional development activities, you go visit the State Department, you meet with lots of Foreign Service officers, you talk through the career tracks, because one of the nice things about the Rangel program is that you don't have to decide up front what your career track is going to be. You have about a year and a half into the program before you have to decide it. And so you have time to think about it and talk about it. We'll talk a little bit about your congressional internship and then do social events. We really believe in forming strong networks, not only within the cohort itself, but between the cohort and prior cohorts and also across programs. So we also administer the Pickering program and the Donald Payne program. So because of it, you'll actually have interactions with those programs too. So you'll go into the Foreign Service with a really, really strong network of supporters and friends. Next, please. Then it's the Congressional Internship. And again, this is what kind of makes, I think, this program special. Our program began in Congress with Congressman Rangel and others who felt really passionately. This is the one thing that is different from the Pickering Fellowship. So the Pickering Fellowship and the Rangel Fellowship are almost identical. Same amount of money. You're all going into the Foreign Service, 2 years. The one difference is that their domestic internship is working at the main State Department building in Washington, D.C. The Rangel one is working on Capitol Hill. Other than that, they are the same. So if you're going to apply to one, apply to both. You double your chances of getting it. We've made it really easy by making our applications identical. So again, you can use the same application to apply to both. I mean, certainly in your personal statement, change, I really want to be a Rangel fellow to I really want to be a Pickering fellow when you're applying there. But it's 2 different selection panels, so there's no problem with basically putting in the same materials. So I really highly recommend that. But again, what differentiates the Rangel program is this congressional internship. You might work for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee or one of the House Foreign Affairs subcommittees, or if you're interested in economics, the House Ways and Means Subcommittee on International Trade. It's a really wonderful way to learn more about Congress and its role. You can see everything that's going on in Congress this summer. I mean, what a time to be here. And every summer feels like this. So it's great. And you're all together, so you all get to know each other during the summer. And that's always a lot of fun. And we do professional development in addition to your congressional internship all summer. So it's I think a really terrific aspect of this program. So congressional internship, and then as I mentioned, you're going to go into graduate school. So what you will do is you're going to pick a graduate program, and our fellows go to graduate school all over the country. Right here, I have a couple of them. Obviously, I was taking pictures in Washington. So these are George Washington, Georgetown. I think we have a Columbia there too. But our fellows also go to University of California, San Diego, University of Denver, University of Michigan. So there are a lot of wonderful graduate schools all around the country. And remember, you're going to represent the United States. Don't feel like you only have to go to one specific graduate program or one specific type. And again, many graduate programs provide additional funding. So nothing I want to tell you about going to graduate school in this program is that you have a job at the end. So some of the stressors of graduate school aren't there. You're not worried about racking up a lot of new debt. You're not worried about, wow, how am I going to find an internship the next summer? Because it's our job to find your internships for you. You just tell us where you want to go. And, we will look at your preferences and try to get you one of them. But no matter what, you're going to have a really good internship this summer. And again, you've got funding. And so you can really look at graduate school as a chance to learn as much as you can, take the classes you're most interested in, because everything's going to feel very relevant to you. So again, look at what you want to do. It does not have to just be in international relations. There's a lot of other things that are possible to study. Next, please. Overseas internship. Between the first and second year, you're going to do a 10-week internship at a U.S. embassy or consulate. You learn about the work, but also the lifestyle of the Foreign Service. And one of the things about the Foreign Service is that we tend to have vacancies during the summer because, people leave in like June because, they want to get back and transfer to a new post. And then, they'll come, to get their kids in school in September. So sometimes we're short-staffed, which means our fellows were often treated like entry-level Foreign Service officers. So they have really good, wonderful, substantive experiences during that summer. And it can help them to, if they're still on the fence as to which career track they want to do, this can really help them to decide. Next, please. Okay, and then you graduate and you join the Foreign Service. Again, many of you will go in the Foreign Service at the same time, but you'll also meet so many other people when you go in. Once you go into the Foreign Service, you're treated like everybody else. So there's no difference in how your career is or anything. You do have a 5-year service obligation, and you do have a chance to represent your country and promote positive change all around the world. And it truly is a wonderful career. Next, please. Now, how to apply? Look on our website. That's the place to apply. We look at having a personal statement, a statement of financial need, because we do take financial need into consideration. In giving the fellowships, we'd rather give money to people that need it than people that don't need it, which makes sense. You'll get 2 letters of recommendation. One is from an academic source. So maybe someone that you studied with, a professor, or someone that knows you and has seen your academics. And the other person is something we call a community leader. And that is someone who knows you more in professional terms. So maybe it's your boss at work, or maybe it's a supervisor at an internship, or maybe it's a faculty advisor to a student organization. Just someone who's seen you in action outside of a classroom that can talk about things like your work ethic and your ability to work in a group, and maybe your community service orientation or organizational skills or stuff. So pick people that know you and like you. I'll explain that more later, but sometimes people feel like, oh, I got to go to the head of the department. That's the really big name. No, pick that professor you've had a couple of classes with who really likes you. Also, again, don't go to your congressman if your congressman doesn't know you. Go to, again, someone who's actually seen you in action, because that's what makes a really great letter of recommendation. You're going to put in proof of U.S. citizenship, either you'll upload a copy of your passport or birth certificate or certificate of naturalization. You're going to have to go through and do the FAFSA. Whether or not you're in school now, you still have to do the FAFSA for 2023, 2024, which means you kind of got to get working on it. Because it can take a while. So you put it in, but then it's not ready right away, right? So go ahead and do it as early as you can. Again, this is not the only thing we make decisions based on, but it is an important piece of data that we use. We also allow you to write a 400-word statement on your financial need, and in that you can talk about both your socioeconomic background as well as your current need for funding for graduate school. I'm going to talk I was going to talk about that later. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here. So if you think about it, if we just look at your student aid report, there's a number there, right? But that number tells us kind of, this is where you were like 2 years ago, but it doesn't tell us things that we wouldn't know unless you told us. Like, did you pick your undergraduate school because of finances? So maybe you don't have a lot of debt, but you picked your school because they gave you a really good package. Maybe you started at a community college for that reason. Maybe you worked during school to help pay for it. Maybe your family was able to help you during undergraduate, but couldn't help you can't help you during graduate school. So the stuff we wouldn't know by just looking for a number, this is your place to tell us. So please, please do when you're doing that. Let's see, what else you're going to put in. You're going to do a student, again, we talked about the student aid report. Again, you're going to get it and you're going to upload it. You're not going to send it, have FAFSA send it directly to Howard University. You're going to get your copy and you're going to upload your copy. You can do transcripts from all colleges and universities attended. So if you started at one college and you move to another college, you still have to put in both transcripts, unless the credits transferred along with the grades. So it's not enough just that the credits transferred. We also want to see the grades. Sometimes that happens, sometimes that doesn't. The GRE GMATs are completely optional. Honestly, it's not going to hurt you if you don't put them in at all. So if you have great GRE scores, you've done them already, put them in. If they're kind of, average, or you haven't taken them, don't put them in. Again, it will not affect your competitiveness for the fellowship. The application, all the components must be received by September 22nd, 2022. What's next? Oh, crafting a competitive application. I started telling you this, but so the first thing to do is look at our website. Under the program, there's tips for preparing a competitive application. Read it. We try to be really transparent about what we're looking for. I promise you there's not like this secret thing that only a few people know. No, we tell you exactly what we're looking for. So read that. You want to write a statement of interest, 600 words that explains your background and why you want to be and why you think you're going to be a successful Foreign Service officer. So I always think there's 3 questions that you're answering in your statement of interest. Why do I want to be a Foreign Service officer in the State Department, right? That is a very specific question. That is different from why am I interested in international affairs, or why do I like public service? They may be part of your answer, right? But it's like, why this career? So think about that. Second thing is what you bring. And that you can, each one of you is going to have a very different story on this. So for some of you, it's going to be academics or international experience. For others of you, you're really going to highlight more your public service or your community service at school, or specialized skills that you have. You get to take your experience as individual as it is and kind of explain to us why this makes sense. And the third question, which is not a separate part of the personal statement, but I think should be in there, is who am I? There is a personal statement that only you can write. We should get to know you a little bit. Again, there's only so much room you have. So again, it's not a separate place, but how you talk about your motivations and what you've done, we should get an idea, what are your priorities? What do you care about? Where are you from? So each of you will write something very different. Please do not think there's one type of person we're looking for. But again, do take time, and this is perfectly fine to show your drafts to other people. A lot of universities have fellowship advisors, but you might have a professor or a friend. So perfectly fine to have people look at it. In the end, it's your statement, and you have to decide what you're going to put in it. We're going to look at your academic ability by looking at your transcripts. We're not just looking at GPA, because quite honestly, sometimes you start in the wrong major, right? Sometimes you're working during school. Sometimes you have good and bad times or whatever. Generally, we like to see that you took a wide range of issues of classes, and that you did fairly well, and particularly as you're going on. And you figure out what it is you want to do, your grades are pretty good. We have a minimum GPA of 3.2. Do we ever pick people that have a 3.2? Yes, we do. So again, we really are looking at you as a total candidate, but you're going to put in your transcripts, and our selection panel will read them very carefully. Again, you're going to write a 400-word essay on financial need. I know that's not always easy. It's not something sometimes we're comfortable about talking about, but this is straightforward. This is why, I have financial need. This is, how I grew up, or whatever it is you want to tell the panel. This is your place to do it. Let's see. You're going to put down community service, extracurriculars in school, whatever you did. And if possible, use strong action verbs so we can see both leadership and engagement. So if you just write down Habitat for Humanity, I don't know whether or not you went one Saturday and hammered in a couple of nails, or you spent a year feeding, coordinating meals for volunteers. That is a very different level of engagement. So don't feel like when I say leadership, it means you have to have been an officer in an organization. But if you can use a strong action verb to talk about your engagement in that organization, that's always very positive. Certainly list all honors and awards. Proofread carefully and submit on time. Next, please. The portal is open now to submit applications, so go on in there. And it will stay open until the 22nd. And we're going to have lots and lots of interesting programs. So this is kind of our overall program, but we'll have programs, virtual programs on, writing your personal statement or working with recommenders. We're going to have them on the lifestyle of the Foreign Service. We're going to talk about how to talk to your family about the Foreign Service, because not all families are like, oh, you're going to go work overseas. I think that's a great idea. So we talk a little bit of, we bring our fellows in for these, so you can really hear directly from them. How do they talk about to their families about these type of things? How do we have partnerships? I'm trying to think of the Rangels. I was just looking at this the other day, of those who've gone into this program. The vast majority were single when they went in, but not everybody. We certainly have people that come into the program that are married and have children. But the majority of our fellows, I think it's like 90% for the first 6 years, are married. It's not how they started. So we do have lives, we have children, we do all sorts of things. But we'll talk more about that as we go forward. I know you guys have been asking questions. So Garrick, or I'm not going to look at in. So Garrick or Michael, what kind of questions? And does anybody have any questions for me? Because I'm very, very happy to answer.